Let us take a second and just appreciate what is actually happening here. Heartland is going to season 20, 20 seasons. That is not just a number. That is 2 full decades of the same family, the same ranch, the same horses, and the same heart. Most shows do not make it past 3 or 4 seasons before they disappear. The ones that reach 10 seasons are considered legends. But 20? That puts Heartland in a category that almost nothing else on television can touch. And this is not one of those shows that survived by chasing drama for the sake of drama. Heartland kept people coming back because it told the truth. It showed what family actually looks like: messy, complicated, exhausting, and beautiful all at the same time. It showed grief that does not go away after one episode. It showed a woman rebuilding her life after losing the person she loved most, not in a neat or tidy way, but slowly and painfully and honestly. And it showed that a piece of land, a group of horses, and a stubborn old grandfather can hold a family together through things that should have torn them apart. That is why this renewal means so much. CBC made it official, and the announcement said something that stopped fans cold. It said, 20 seasons? That is 20 years of a family that has felt like our own. Thank you for never letting go of Heartland. Your love for this show is the reason we keep riding. And when you read those words, if you have been watching this show for any real length of time, something in your chest just moves. Because that is exactly how it feels. It does not feel like watching a television program. It feels like checking in on people you actually know. Amber Marshall, who has played Amy Fleming from the very first episode, has said she hopes the show runs for at least 10 more years, and the way she talks about it makes complete sense when you hear her explain it. She has said that she hears from families all the time, parents and children watching together, people going through hard times who say the show helped them feel less alone. She said that means everything to her. And you can tell she means it, because the way Amber Marshall lives her actual life, on a farmhouse in Alberta, surrounded by animals, completely committed to the world the show created, tells you this is not just a job to her. It never was. So heading into season 20, the foundation is strong. The heart of the show is still beating. But the stories waiting for these characters are heavier and more complicated than anything that has come before. Because for the first time in a long time, the future of almost every single major character on this show is genuinely uncertain. And that uncertainty is what makes this season the one that every Heartland fan has to watch from the very first episode, because missing even a single moment could mean missing everything. For months, Heartland fans have been living in a very uncomfortable place. Not the kind of uncomfortable that fades after a few days, the kind that sits with you quietly in the background while you go about your normal life, eating breakfast, driving to work, trying to fall asleep at night, and then suddenly hits you again the moment your brain goes quiet. Because that season 19 finale did not just end a season. It opened a door and then refused to let anyone walk through it. And ever since that screen went black, millions of people have been standing in that doorway, unable to move forward, waiting for someone to finally turn the lights on. That wait is officially over. Heartland Season 20 is coming to CBC, television, and CBC Gem on Thursday, October 1st, 2026. That is the confirmed premiere date. That is the day the Fleming Bartlett family comes back to our screens, the ranch comes back to life, and every single question that Season 19 left burning gets its first real answer. If you have been holding your breath since that firefly proposal scene, you can finally let it go. Because October 1st is the finish line of this very long and very painful wait. But here is what makes this premiere date feel even more significant than just a calendar announcement. Production for Season 20 began in Calgary in mid-May of 2026 and runs straight through to the end of August. That is a focused, disciplined filming window with very little room for error and absolutely no room for wasted time. And when a show as experienced as Heartland locks itself into that kind of tight production schedule, it is not by accident. It is because the people behind the camera already know exactly what story they are telling. The scripts are ready, the direction is set. The creative team walked into this season with a clear and specific vision, and they are executing it with everything they have. That kind of focused energy almost always shows up on screen. Seasons that are filmed with urgency and intention tend to feel that way when you watch them. There is a momentum to them, a sense that every scene is moving somewhere important, that nothing is being included just to fill time. And given where season 19 ended, with nearly every major character standing at some kind of crossroads, season 20 has more than enough material to justify that urgency. These are not small stories being carried into the new season. These are massive, life-changing moments that have been building for years, and they are all arriving at the same time. For fans outside of Canada, CBC Gem has consistently been the home for international viewers who follow the show week by week as new episodes drop. The Heartland audience is not just Canadian anymore. It stretches across the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, and dozens of other countries where people discovered this show and quietly fell in love with it. All of those viewers, across all of those time zones, are now pointed at the same date on their calendars. And what is particularly powerful about an October premiere is the timing itself. There is something about the fall season that feels right for Heartland. The leaves changing, the air getting colder, the nights getting longer, it all matches the emotional texture of the show perfectly. Heartland has always been a program that feels most alive when the world outside is slowing down, and people are looking for something warm and real to hold on to. October delivers exactly that kind of atmosphere, and season 20 is going to arrive right in the middle of it. So, mark the date. Tell the people in your life who watch this show. Because October 1st, 2026 is not just a premiere date. It is the moment this story picks back up from one of the most emotionally charged endings this show has ever produced. And if the production energy and the creative focus behind season 20 are any indication of what is coming, the ranch is not just coming back. It is coming back with something to say. There is something very specific that happens when a show reaches 20 seasons with mostly the same core cast still intact. It stops feeling like a television program and starts feeling like something else entirely, something closer to a relationship. Because at this point, these are not just characters anymore. They are people you have watched grow up, fall apart, rebuild themselves, make terrible decisions, find their way back, and do it all over again. You know their voices, you know their expressions, you know exactly what a certain look on their face means before they even open their mouth. And the fact that so many of these familiar faces are confirmed to be returning for season 20 is not just good news. It is genuinely comforting in a way that is hard to explain unless you've been watching this show for a long time. Amber Marshall is back as Amy Fleming. That almost goes without saying at this point, but it still needs to be said because Amy is the soul of this show. Every story, every season, every emotional moment that Heartland has ever produced connects back to her in some way. And heading into season 20, Amy is carrying more emotional weight than she has at any point since losing Ty. The proposal from Nathan has placed her at a fork in the road that she cannot avoid. Whatever she decides, her answer is going to reshape not just her own life, but the entire direction of the show. Michelle Morgan returns as Lou Fleming, and after the events of season 19, Lou is walking into this season as a slightly different version of herself. She spent years trying to control everything around her. The ranch, the family, the finances, every moving piece. And season 19 finally cracked that open. She was forced to admit that carrying everything alone was not strength. It was exhaustion dressed up as leadership. That kind of self-awareness is hard-won, and watching Lou actually try to live differently is going to be one of the quieter but more rewarding storylines of the new season. Sean Johnston is back as Grandpa Jack, and Jack Bartlett remains the emotional anchor of Heartland in a way that no other character quite matches. He does not say much. He does not need to. But when Jack speaks, everything stops, and season 20 is going to need that steadiness more than ever, given how much uncertainty is surrounding the people he loves most. Spencer Lord returns as Nathan Price Jr., and his position heading into season 20 is genuinely fascinating. He asked the biggest question of his life, and is now waiting for an answer that could either give him everything he wants, or quietly break something in him that may not recover easily. And Kerry James is confirmed back as Caleb Odell, bringing his signature energy to a ranch that is going to need every person pulling their weight in the season ahead. Every season of Heartland arrives with new stories to tell. But there is something fundamentally different about what is waiting on the other side of season 20. These are not fresh storylines that appeared out of nowhere. These are consequences. These are the results of years of decisions, years of holding on too tight, years of running from things and toward things, and years of a family that kept choosing each other even when it was hard. Season 20 is not starting a new chapter. It is paying off everything that came before it. And that makes every single storyline heading into this season carry a weight that feels completely different from anything this show has done recently. The story that every single fan is focused on first is Amy and Nathan. And rightfully so, because what Nathan did in that season 19 finale was not just romantic. It was a complete restructuring of Amy's entire future. He did not just ask her on a date. He did not just tell her he had feelings for her. He asked her to pack up her life, take her daughter, leave the ranch that has been her home and her identity for 2 decades, and build something entirely new with him on Salt Spring Island. That is an enormous ask, and the reason it hits so hard is because it forced Amy, and every person watching, to ask a question that nobody had fully faced yet. At what point does staying become the same thing as standing still? Amy has healed horses, healed other people, and poured herself into that land for years. But has she been healing herself? Or has the ranch become the place she hides inside? Because leaving would mean fully letting go of Ty, and she is not sure she knows how to do that yet. That question is what makes this storyline so much more than a simple love story. It is a story about identity, about whether a person can love a place so deeply that they use it as a reason not to grow. And the answer Amy gives Nathan is going to tell us everything about where she is emotionally after everything this show has put her through. Then there is Georgie. And honestly, Georgie's storyline heading into season 20 deserves far more attention than it is currently getting. She won the Grand Prix. She and Phoenix delivered one of the most emotional performances this show has produced in years. And then, in the same breath, she revealed she had received an offer from a prestigious stable in Austria, which means Georgie is standing at the exact same kind of crossroads as Amy, but from a completely different direction. Amy is being pulled away from the ranch by love. Georgie is being pulled away by ambition and by the undeniable reality that her talent has grown beyond what Heartland can contain. Watching these two women face the same fundamental question from opposite ends of the emotional spectrum is going to be one of the most quietly powerful threads running through this entire season. And underneath all of it, the ranch itself is under a pressure that cannot be ignored. The cattle theft storyline cracked open some very uncomfortable truths about Heartland's financial foundation. Lou is thinking about loans. The land that has always felt permanent and unshakable is suddenly feeling fragile. And when the ground beneath a family starts to shift, everything built on top of it shifts too. Season 20 is going to test whether this family can hold together not just emotionally, but practically. Because love alone does not pay the bills, and the ranch needs more than heart to survive what is coming.